So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trauma Theory as Zaniolo speaks up with a letter. Is it an apologies letter? Is it not an apologies letter? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Essentially, we're gonna examine this letter, and I'm gonna give you my overall my opinion on it. Obviously, these are crucial hours to actually get full reasoning behind the fact of will he be reintegrated in the team, will he not be reintegrated in the team. Apparently he'll be back tomorrow in the training ground training, so tomorrow is going to be a crucial day. In these next couple of days, Mourinho alongside the Fredkins will also decide if they want to include him in the UEFA list to present UEFA for a Europa League round. But we've got a lot to get through today. Let's start by reading his letter, because obviously it's I don't know if it's an apologies letter. You can't really say if he's meant to apologize. But anyways, this is what Zaniolo says. At 23, I had experiences that many other players don't experience in an entire career. Falling, getting up, falling again, getting up again, and eventually winning a trophy. In recent months, I have gone through a delicate period in which it was difficult to understand what my professional future would be. However, I have always worked hard on the pitch and in training with the utmost professionalism. And then he went on speaking about his death threats, which he received a couple of days ago. For the first time these days, I was afraid for me and my family, and I felt abandoned. It had never happened to me before, and I was very scared. The future is in our hands. I hold mine out and place myself at the complete disposal of the Roma family. Now you read this, and you focus on the last part, obviously, which is, I hold my hand out and place myself at the complete disposal of the Roma family. You look at it and you're like, I'm sorry, but you're just playing with us now. The only reason you're saying this is to avoid further death threats when you're back in Rome, and just hope to be reintegrated in the team. At the end of the day, my opinion on him leaving the club doesn't change. I think he still wants to leave the club, and he's treated us badly. Now, in this live stream, we will discuss what the outcomes are. If we reintegrate him, if we don't reintegrate him, what happens? We'll discuss that in a second. But, he has to understand that he's committed a mistake, because there is nothing wrong when it comes to leaving the club. And I think one thing which he got wrong is that he didn't speak. If at first, I know it's hard, but if initially he would have gone and said out loud to everyone, including the fans and the ownership, I want to leave, then this situation could have easily been avoided. I know it's hard to do that. It's not easy to do that. But at the same time, the situation is now worse. So it's not the fact that he wants to leave the club, because as we already discussed, everyone has got the rights to do whatever they want. If he wants to leave the club, he's got all the rights to leave the club. However, two things which he got wrong. The first one being, until you are under a contract with Roma, you behave like a professional player. One thing which irritated Roma fans is the fact that you are a Roma player. Roma are giving you a salary. You have to respect that contract. It's not like you're not feeling it and you don't present yourself to training sessions. That's not how it works, mate. You're under a contract. You're a professional player. You've chosen this path. And to be fair, this is a path which many kids out there dream about. You have to respect it. You have to respect the contract. Until you're under a contract, you respect this contract. And that is what he massively got wrong. Not presenting himself to training sessions. And the second thing is, if you want to leave the club in such a desperate way, you accept the Bournemouth offer. It's not like, oh no, I say no to Bournemouth, I'll wait, but I want Milan, I'm just going to wait for Milan, but Milan is not going to give me the money I want, so actually let me rethink about this, but in the meantime I'm going to say no to Bournemouth, I'm also going to calculate that I want to say no to Borussia Dortmund. But no, if you want to leave the club, you say yes to any club which approaches you. And the other thing which he got wrong is that he's being such a fuss because he wants an increase in salary, and at Bournemouth they were going to offer him double the amount of salary which he earns at Roma, and he still said no. I know the Bournemouth project might not be as inspiring as the Roma project, but you've said you want to leave the club. You got to leave the club now. So these are the things he got wrong. Now, obviously, the ownership is following a hard path here, because they're being really strict when it comes in. They're saying you're not going to train with the team anymore. You're out of my project. You've decided to not accept the Bournemouth offer. You decided to say no to that. It's a you problem right now. It's not my problem. You decided. You've bottled your chance, and a few days after Bournemouth approaches them, then he changes his mind and says, yes, that's not how you behave. So right now, it's a you problem if you don't play. That's essentially what the ownership is saying. However, we have to think about the fact that the transfer market is now done. The transfer market is closed. You know, it's a different situation to last week, because last week things could still happen. He could have still joined the club. Right now, he's not going to join a club because the January transfer window is over. So we have to speak about the present. And as much as he deserves, it could be argued he deserves such a punishment, we have to open another parenthesis. And we have to say that when it comes to our objectives, it is fully wrong to keep him out 6 months. It is fully wrong to do that. Because we have to monetize as much as possible from this deal. If we let Zaniolo slip away from our team without getting any money from it, it's a massive failure. So however this situation goes, we will have to monetize from. I don't care if it's 20 million, 30 million, 35 million. But the situation is very clear. If you are not going to start a player for 6 months straight until June, if you are making the player train by himself and isolate him for 6 months, now that he is staying at Roma, just know one thing. The second June approaches, you will never find a team which will offer the money. You will never find a team which will want Zaniolo. Therefore, as much as it has to be argued that the punishment has to be made, unfortunately, I just think it would also be wrong on the financial side of the ownership and the club if we don't start him, and if we don't at least train him with the team. Because if we isolate him and all of that and don't start in games, then realistically speaking, who will offer the money to sign even 20 million? Who will offer even 20 million to sign a player who's not been giving call-ups, who's not been playing games, who, you know, Mancini, the Italian coach, has said, if Roma don't reintegrate him back, I'm not going to give him an Italian national call-up. So his career can change drastically, because the situations are simple. We could let him out for 6 months, right? If we're following the strict path, if we're following the hardline path, the options are two. We either don't play him for 6 months and hope that someone offers the money in the summer, which I highly doubt, or otherwise, if we're following this strict path, we will end up not seeing Zaniolo on a football pitch for 1.5 years until his contract expires in 2024. And that will not only be a massive disaster for his career, it would also be a disaster for us, because as soon as his contract expires, we'll get no money from it. So it's a critical situation, but in a way, you know me, these situations have to be, you have to keep these situations private. I've said it many times. I've said it after the Korsov situation. It's hard now that you've got journalists everywhere in your life keeping these situations private. But unfortunately, if you give a public view to everything, it's gonna give a bad influence. Obviously, there's a human level. There's a human level to it, because there's a human level in a way that he has to be punished, and it could be argued that the punishment will not benefit our financial side, because if he doesn't play, no clubs will want him. There's a human level to this as well, and the club are being have expressed themselves very, very, very well here. There's a human level to everything. You've treated my team badly. You've treated the manager badly. You've treated the fans badly. You've treated your other mates and your other players, your other friends, your other colleagues in a bad way. What do you expect me to do? Start you in games? So I don't know. I don't know how. It's hard to see. It's hard to see what the ownership will follow, what path they'll follow. But obviously, as you, I've put the poll today. I've put the poll today, which is a continuation to the poll of last week. Would you reintegrate him back in the team? Do you not reintegrate him back in the team? Let's speak about these two aspects, because essentially speaking, January market is done. He's staying at Roma. We either reintegrate him back or we don't. Do we give him another chance? For those of you who say yes, okay, he could deserve another. I mean, not that he doesn't deserve, but let's say that we all agree he deserves another chance. We have to understand the fact that these are humans. Humans make mistakes. Football players are not aliens. Football players are human beings as well. They make mistakes. He's only 23. He's a young guy. He makes mistakes. So let's give him a second chance. And that's completely fine. I agree with anyone who says this. Let's give him another chance. However, there's a big however in this. In order for me to give you another chance, you have to change. In order for me to restart you in a football game, you have to show me that this event has changed you as a person. In order for Mourinho, and let's say I'm Mourinho. If I were Mourinho and say, okay, I'm going to give you a second chance because I understand that we all make mistakes, but you have to promise me that you're a player with a completely different mindset, with a completely different attitude, who wants to fight for the team, who wants to say sorry to the fans by demonstrating your capacities on the football pitch. Because at the end of the day, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm sorry, by writing a letter. But you have to show that. You have to demonstrate this. So people who say, let's give him another chance, okay, I might agree with it. But he has to show me he wants that second chance. And part of this links with the letter. Why has this letter, why did this letter come out the day, no, maybe not the day, 2 days after the transfer market closes? Is it a coincidence? Yes, it is. Because at the end of everything, at the base of everything, he wants to leave the club. But he's understood that he's made mistakes. Therefore, in order to try and, in order to reestablish a potential relationship with players, manager and fans and ownership, which is very hard because the crevice is massive. In order for Zaniolo to close this crevice back again, he needs to turn into Kylian Mbappe for these next 6 months. But if you want a second chance, you have to demonstrate you want a second chance. Otherwise, you're not getting it. It's as simple as that. Obviously, there's also the other branch, which is we don't give him another chance. Because at the end of the day, he's made his mistake. And realistically speaking, will he ever be the same player after this? No, he won't. No, he won't. He's a changed player. This situation has changed him. This situation has made the relationship worse between him and the fans. Therefore, let's not start him. Let's avoid this situation degenerating even more. Because of how fragile his attitude can be. So, I think it's some reflections which the ownership has to definitely make. I think they've made their decision. I think the ownership has made a decision. I think the ownership would love to follow a hard line, but they're also aware that if they follow the hard line, no club will pay the money in the summer for Zaniolo. And if we lose him without monetizing, then wow, great. Round of applause. It's a tough situation. Again, this could have been avoided, but it's another situation which the team has to diverge away from. The players aren't responsible for this. The manager isn't responsible for this. This all started because he wants to leave the club. Do we give him another chance? Do we not give him another chance? I think that the options are valid. Any option is valid if you justify it. But obviously, as you can read from the title, the Mourinho and the Fredkins, excuse me, are also considering excluding him from the Europa League list. And if they decide that, then I think they're following the Hardline. Tomorrow's going to be a significant day. Tomorrow's going to be a significant day because he should be back in the training ground, and he should have some conversations. And when I mean conversations, he will eventually has to justify all of these actions. But the thing is, he has to justify these actions to the fans rather than just the ownership, because otherwise it's already hard for Zaniolo to just rebuild the relationship. Otherwise it's going to be impossible. It's definitely not great. It's going to influence his career. He's never going to be the same player after this. Never. Because this has highlighted how fragile his attitude is and will influence any other decision. Wherever he will go, this will influence his Italian national team performance, even if he gets some call-ups. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. But I think as long as an opinion is justified, I think anyone can think it out where they want. Wrong theory, you've been at the game. What do you think it went wrong? Concentration and just the power of underestimating games. I've done a match reaction for that. I don't want to speak about that game anymore because it's a classic Roma game. Every single component of the team underestimated yesterday's game, from the manager to the players. They already had this vision of them playing in the final. No, that's wrong. You gotta conquer the finals. Concentration was wrong. Did you see? I mean, I've never seen such a weak performance. But yeah, we have to react. We're done. We've lost. We're out of Coppa Italia. Okay, we're done. We've bottled it. Now we have to win on Saturday. We have to. It's such an important game. Right, what's Lazio doing? I've said this in a match reaction. Now that the lads are out of the Coppa Italia, if Lazio win it, it's the end. It's the end. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to drag this any further. I think we all get the point. It's going to be some important hours, some important days. Let's see what people say. Reintegrating back, not reintegrating back. Let's see what people say in the poll, and then I'll end the stream. In the meantime, if you haven't already, please make sure to smash that subscribe button if you're new here, and smash the like button. Everyone in the stream, please make sure to smash that subscribe button and like button. Please do it. Smash the like button. Takes 2 seconds and supports me a lot. So free of cost. So please do it if you haven't already. Right, 55% says yes, we need him. 45% says not a chance. So it's fairly balanced, but the majority of guys say, we should reintegrate him back. We'll see how it goes. Keep you updated. Tomorrow, match preview. Very important game on Saturday. Match preview tomorrow. And yeah, we have to win. We have to forget yesterday's game very quickly. You have to forget about this Zaniolo situation because, as I just said, the players aren't responsible for this. And yeah. What is wrong if a player wants to leave a club? It's just like any contract when somebody decides to look for another job with more power and better conditions. That's not the wrong side. He is completely right if he wants to leave the club. He's got all the rights to leave the club if he wants to. But I think seeing this situation, he's made mistakes. It's not the fact he wants to leave the club, which everyone is mad about. If he wants to leave the club, he can leave the club. It's not that. It's the way you behave. You don't behave like that. You don't. If you want to leave the club, you leave the club. The second an offer approaches, you accept that offer. We're not here to waste time. If you want to leave, you leave. And second of all, you got to be respectful. Until you leave and sign a contract for a new team, you're under a contract with this team. You're a professional player. This team gives you 3 million euros every season, every month. What is it? Every season. And You don't respect him like that. You don't. He's got a massive sense of disrespect. But yeah, I'll catch you soon. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the link on my channel with your families and friends, and I'll catch you tomorrow for the match preview. Stay positive. Let's not become dull. I know it sucks that we're out, but we gotta focus on top four. And if we get top four, everything gets saved. Really, everything. The entire season gets saved. So I'll catch you soon. Simon out.